Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Mr. No Sleep here from Old School RuneScape, and welcome to a brand new video for you all today. So as promised, I know this upload was a little bit later than expected, but this is the official blooper side of loot from 1,000 players. In this video, you will only see me kill, I think, maybe 1 or 2 people, and I also managed to add in a few good escape clips as well from getting away from clans and stuff, but for the most part in this video, you will just be seeing me die approximately about 180 times. For example, in this clip here, I had just gotten a great kill and I was trying my best to get away, but you know, as you can see, we had a PKer on us, and looks like we had no food, no brews left, and considering I was tanking in red d'hide and rune, I definitely thought I was going to die here. But you know, you do occasionally get these lucky moments in RuneScape and you really got to take advantage of them. As you can see, I predicted his switches pretty well and we did actually manage to get away, and I'm sure that guy was very upset. Now of course, that was just one instance of things going right for me when I was in a situation of where I was about to die. But in a scenario like this, when your target is SparkMac and you teleport right up to him, you know, unfortunately he was leading one of the biggest groups at the Rev Caves at this time. I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to tell them, hey man, you know, you got the wrong guy, I'm team, but I don't think they were buying it. So yeah, but that was the only time I did die by SparkMac throughout these 1,000 kills. But yeah, shout out to SparkMac. I mean, that guy's been PKing for like 14 years straight, so absolutely crazy. Now I'm not gonna lie, about 80% of these deaths are pretty casual, and usually on average every time I would die I would lose anywhere from 300 to 500k, but I think the highlight of this video will be all of the times that I lost a +1, which was very regularly. It's probably every 2 days or so, and I didn't get all of them on video, but this right here is the very first instance of me losing dragon claws. And what happened was, essentially I was doing some target hunting in the bounty hunter world, and one of my targets was at Callisto, so I teleported up and started attacking him. Then all of a sudden his 2 friends instantly skulled, and I was not expecting that, so I ran south. You know, I was talking a little bit, just kind of making fun of the situation, and while I was kind of doing that, you know, trolling them, getting ready to teleport, I accidentally clicked my map and I wasn't paying attention to my prayer, and yeah, I lost dragon claws on day 2 from a group of PVMers at Callisto. So you know, don't feel too bad every time you see a PVMer getting killed, because they might actually be an anti-PKer. They might actually just have a moment like that where they PK an insane amount of money, certainly a lot more money than they would have made PVMing that day. And of course, you know, when you're PKing at the Rev Caves quite a bit, you are going to be outnumbered, and as most of you guys know, I only did team PKing probably like 3 different times throughout this video. It wasn't really my type of thing, so you know, you can expect quite a few deaths in multi, you know, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And as you can see there, I did die to some people doing Wilderness Slayer, and to also targets risking a whole lot more GP than I was. So as you can see, this guy was risking a Berserker necklace as well as full obsidian, and we almost did get the kill there, but unfortunately he did hit much higher than we did, so we didn't get it. But you know, it's always worth it when you're risking about 300k to definitely take the L if your opponent is risking 10 to 20 times your risk. So you know, unfortunately there wasn't too many double deaths of that occurring during this video, but there definitely was a few, and I did throw those later on in the video, such as this clip here. Chances are, if it's 4 versus 1, you probably don't need to be using Ice Barrage, and because of that, we did actually manage to get that kill, but we went down at the same time. Now, if you're curious as to like why I was teleporting to deep level multi-wilderness, you know, kind of an obvious tell that there might be a team or a clan there waiting, especially locations like Anakarl or level 50 Obelisk or near the Fountain of Rune. And usually that is because when I would teleport to these locations, it would always kind of be like a calculated risk. If I would see like 2 people there, I would instantly just rush and try my best, and a lot of the times I would just instantly log out, you know, teleporting directly up there and being on my logout screen 1 tick away from just logging out. And what would usually happen is if I see a lot of numbers like 10 plus or something like that, I would just instantly log and hop worlds and try again. So a lot of that bounty hunter teleporting was very dangerous, but it wasn't always dangerous. You know, I did get away a lot of the time, just being very lucky. But as you can see in certain clips, you know, my prayer would drop to 0 because there'd be so many people smiting me. As you can see in this clip, you know, starting at 32 prayer points and, you know, just not paying attention at all to a single prayer point of mine, and somehow, some way, I did not lose my AGS here. There's actually quite a few occasions of this happening during the video, and every single time I am just more and more grateful that I did not lose it, because, you know, as I mentioned in my previous video, we did lose money throughout the making of this because because of, you know, stupid mistakes like that, but also because of 200 deaths overall. And any more +1s really would have just, you know, been adding insult to injury. So I'm glad that we did have the occasions where I would get that luck, because it did turn the tables a lot. And had I lost +1s on those certain days, knowing me, I'd probably just log out for the rest of the day, and it would have taken a lot longer to do this video. So I'm glad that we had some good RNG there. I did have some luck with DHers, but you know, anytime that I would get a target that's just basically standing in Edgeville with full DH on, you know, I would always skull up in hopes that they would fight me. And honestly, most of these people did. They weren't really that mad that I wasn't risking as much. And I think that's because there's such a small amount of people that are my combat that still PK and Bounty Hunter Edgeville. You know, the low levels of Wilderness, most people at this combat PK in Deep Wild, so you really don't see too many DHers in BH, but you will still see a couple, or you know, 1 or 2 every few hours, and those people would always fight me. So if you were one of them, shout out to you. Thanks a lot for, you know, not making me grab a set or anything like that. Never have been the greatest DH PKer, and you know, these guys really embraced my rune and red d'hide, so shout out to them. And something to keep in mind if you ever do want to DH PK, or if you're like a level 120 and just want to do some rune fights or anything like that, ideally the place to go is world 324 or 25, whatever the PvP world is at that time. And you know, North Grand Exchange is where all those high levels go, and believe it or not, I only went there once during this video, and I did die, so that's why that's in this video. But I didn't really stay there too long. More of a fan of the Wilderness than anything. PvP's always been great, don't get me wrong, but the Wilderness is just old school, you know, it's the thing that came before everything else. So I've always just preferred being in the wild than being in PvP worlds. And there were a few occasions where I would deathmatch my opponent. You know, whenever I was PKing near the rep caves, there's always an escape. You know, you can always kind of go in and out of the cave and then eventually log out when you get the upper hand. However, if I was fighting someone who wasn't safing, who wasn't, you know, flaming or ragging me, usually I'd always just stay in DM. I mean, honestly, it's not that much to lose, and I guess people do appreciate that. So not all the time would I just teleport or run out. And here in this clip, I was sharing my love and passion for Frosted Flakes, you know, kind of hoping for that Tony the Tiger RNG, but it went to the other guy, not me. So yeah, we did take the L there. Tell you what, man, that Armadillo Godsword spec really works both ways. And this next clip represents a suicide mission, you know, teleporting directly up to Center GDZ, and this was an example of when I definitely could have logged out. As you guys saw, there was a split half second where I could have touched that log out button, but you know, I decided the numbers weren't too bad, you know, 1 versus 7, and it was a quick fight. To my surprise, I did not win, but you know, shit happens. And here's another example of when I should have lost another pair of Dragon Claws, but somehow, some way, we did get that prayer in at the right time, and his hit was not high enough, so we did save our second pair of claws. But don't worry, the next +1 lost will be shown very soon, and I gotta say to this next clip coming up, what an idea. I mean, I would have never thought that I would lose a +1 in this form, but essentially, let me give you the backstory before we show the clip here. So there was someone outside of the Revenant Caves with a Slayer helm on, and I kind of thought it would be a good idea to attack them, you know, a PVMer who's not expecting anything. So, you know, I started attacking them, had an anchor with me, had Dragon Claws, was pretty optimistic about the kill, and they were just slowly walking down the Wilderness, you know, about to teleport, so I figured, alright, I'll just chase them and we'll see what happens. Now, it is important to note that I was live streaming this, so all of my attention wasn't just on the RuneScape screen. You know, I was reading a Twitch chat, I was listening to music, I was doing all sorts of things, you know, making up all these excuses, and yeah, it definitely backfired. So here's the clip, enjoy. Essentially, I was attacking this girl, and she just kind of stands in one spot, and I'm thinking, alright, you know, she's probably just lagging or something, and all of a sudden, somebody logs in on top of her. I'm not too sure what to think at this point, but I still stay on, and little did I know the guy who was logged in on top of her had max strength Inferno Cape with Dragon Claw spec ready to go with Smite on, and yeah, we lost our second pair of Dragon Claws because of that. You know, I would like to think that those pair of Dragon Claws that were sacrificed in honor of this video will help someone else out. You know, if you're killing someone and things are going pretty good and it seems too good to be true, most of the time it is. So just be cautious, keep that prayer up no matter what. And if you're ever in a situation where you're just getting specced out and your prayer is lower than your HP is, just make sure you sip on that prayer pot, because it's always worth it to save the bigger item than save yourself, you know, a couple 100k. What's that compared to something that's worth so much more? I don't know what was going on in this clip. I have honestly no idea. There was a guy doing some Wilderness Slayer and some other guys PKing at Anakara with dragon long swords and cooking capes and all sorts of stuff. Always nice to see people just chilling and having fun. Really had numerous close calls throughout this video. You know, a lot of these deaths, my opponent is always below 20 HP, and it's just a, you know, simple risk that I have to take, especially on these DHers, you know, sitting at 2 HP on like 3 ticks there, and still just going for that hero spec. Sometimes it would come in, but a lot of the time, due to the lack of strength bonus, it wouldn't. And, you know, I would actually get killed by Ring of Recoils as well. I mean, there was all sorts of types of deaths during this video. And if you happen to remember that guy from earlier, I believe his username was Monkeys, who took my Dragon Claws. Well, I actually saw him again in level 44, and he reminded me of this, but sadly he killed me right after he reminded me of that. So yeah, shout out to Monkeys. I guess third time's the charm for that fight, so maybe I'll see him in the future. Now, other than losing +1s, we did lose a total of about 25 Dragon Defenders throughout this video. That was just because I would always be past 20 or 30 Wilderness anytime I would be using a DDS as a spec wep, so I would lose, you know, the Defenders, but that would save me from losing a more valuable +1. There would also be a few occasions where I would run into a team, and I was PKing with Staff of the Deads a lot throughout the later part of this video, and I would use the Staff of the Dead special attack, and it would almost save my life a few times. But even with the Staff of the Dead, you know, invincibility special attack, 10 ballistas is still 10 ballistas, and it definitely can take you down. And in that clip there, when I was TB'd and out of food and died by that small team, go figure, the guy who killed me was actually one of the guys who won Dead Man mode one year, and his name was Manked. So yeah, shout out to him. Did actually encounter, I'm pretty sure, just him and SparkMac during this video, as it goes for like content creators, YouTubers, live streamers, whatever. Would be cool to run into some more familiar names. You know, I haven't really seen anyone mainstream in the wild for quite some time. I believe I saw Torvesta 3 years ago, saw C Engineer 2 years ago, pretty much see SparkMac on a daily basis. But yeah, you know, I'd like to get more involved with some maybe potential future videos of, you know, teaming up with different YouTubers, or maybe just fighting them or something like that. Definitely wouldn't hurt to have a team, especially for a video like this. But in general, you know, I've only ever been a part of one PKing clan. It was an old smiting clan many months ago, close to over a year ago, and the name of it was BA. They're still around today, go by a different name, but yeah, that's one thing that I've never really considered, is to join a PKing clan. I definitely would love to, but I just feel like there's too many commitments, you know, so that's kind of been something that's always been in the way. However, I think, you know, clan videos is something you don't see really too much of, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe it's just not the most entertaining thing to put on YouTube, but I think it would be interesting to kind of see, you know, clan versus clan fights. It's one part of the community that I've almost never been involved in, so yeah. Alright, let's take a break from all this insane rambling and show you guys the next +1 that was lost. You know, I was having a great fight with this noob who was at Venenatus. I mean, this guy was wearing Mystic gloves, and as you can see, almost had a few close calls of just killing him. Happened 3 times in a row pretty much, where he was almost dead, and if I just would have hit a few little hits higher, he would have been gone. However, he was just standing there, and of course I was just not paying attention to what was underneath him, and yeah, the same exact thing happened from earlier, and I died by a Dragon Claw spec. Now, here's the upside. The upside is I didn't lose Dragon Claws, but I did lose a Toxic Staff of the Dead, and the only Majorina 2 max cape that I had on this account. And if you just missed it in the clip right after, we did lose a ZGS as well, so that was near Callisto that time. But yeah, you know, I didn't really mind risking a Toxic Staff of the Dead, because it was just so OP to bring with me, and it helped out so much. It definitely was a huge loss every single time we did die with it, and being in these multi-locations, risking like an automatic 15 mil, because I would be stacked with the Occult Necklace, as well as the Tome of Fire and the Toxic Staff of the Dead, and usually my special attack weapon would be either Claws or an AGS, so it was always a risk. I always knew that a clan or a team could log in any second, but you know, it's just all about PKing, it's all about the video, and some things you just gotta risk. Now, this next clip here goes pretty fast, but this was again another Toxic Staff of the Dead loss right here. As you can see, I was risking an AGS and a Toxic Staff, and I just got claw specced right out of my shoes. So yeah, I did lose a second Toxic Staff of the Dead there. And if you're ever curious as to, you know, why I was killing so many PVMers at the later part of the video, it's mainly because of situations like that. I mean, I just couldn't trust myself. It can be argued that I was not good enough to go against other PKers, especially with a risk like that, and I was just kind of choosing my targets a little wiser, you know, just going for the guys that wouldn't fight back. But even if they did fight back, I would mostly die, and it would definitely cost me a lot. So yeah, I mean, that is why I was killing so many more PBMers than PKers, because anytime I would attack one person around level 30 wild, it almost seemed like that one became 2, and then that 2 became 10, all in under like 5 seconds. So you got to be very cautious, you know, when you're in deep wild. For example, in this clip here, I was just chilling, you know, doing a little bit of PKing at Black Chins. This max team, I believe their name is Wolves, just logged in and absolutely dominated me. So yeah, you always got to be careful when you're just, you know, alone PKing. And even if you're in singles, you know, as long as you get hit with a half TB or a full TB, I mean, it's really all just an on and off game of getting, you know, Dark Bow spec, Dragon Claw spec, Armadillo God Sword spec. It really just doesn't end, you know. Now, something else that I should have improved on, especially later on in the video, was that I should have been bringing more Ceradome and Bruise, and especially more Super Restores every single time I would go in deep wild. And it doesn't even really have to be deep wild. It's just being 126 combat, you know, even if you're fighting one person, let alone a whole team, you're gonna be getting dealt a lot of damage, and Bruise really extend that fight and can honestly just save your life, especially if you're TB'd by a team or something like that. Personally, I don't really PK a lot with Ceradome and Bruise just because, I don't know, I'm just different, you know. I've never enjoyed sipping Bruise and not having my stats up. I've always enjoyed being potted the whole time during a fight. Bruise were never for me, but I will say if you are high combat, definitely don't be shy from bringing them because they can help you out dramatically. Also, shout out to this team AC, also known as Air Conditioning. I hear they're a great PKing clan. I did teleport up to multi a few times and claw spec them, and this clip was hilarious. This chick had an Inferno cape and I managed to get the double kill there. Okay, now for the next +1 loss. This is Toxic Staff of the Dead number 3, I believe. So in this clip, I was pretty much teleporting out of the obelisk because I had no food and I was risking a ton, and as you can see, that last ballista hit did hit a 22, and I was risking AGS and Toxic Staff, and I did lose the Toxic Staff of the Dead by probably the biggest group of noobs that I've ever seen in my life, but it was a fair fight, so good fight. As you can see in this clip here, I did lose a Tome of Fire, Seer's Ring, as well as an Occult, but I didn't lose a +1 that was worth a ton of money, so that was good. And for the next +1 loss, another Toxic Staff of the Dead. The story behind this one was I was PKing south of Venenatis, and all of a sudden a 3-man team logged in. Honestly, I wasn't even worried because I was about 8 steps away from singles, and I was tanking very well, as you guys can see here. Didn't even think it was necessary to do a Staff of the Dead spec, even though I should have, because it probably would have made all the difference. However, I got stacked out by 2 ballistas, and I did lose another Toxic Staff of the Dead. So that was very upsetting because I think I had lost 2 in one day at that point, so I was really salty, and I just didn't think that ballistas should be hitting that high, and I've always been against ballistas, so yeah, I had a little salty moment there, but it is what it is, and that is one of the last +1s that we did lose during this video. And it is important to note that we almost did lose an Armadillo Godsword, but as shown in my previous upload, and I also threw it in this video as well, and there was a clip there where I dropped it on the ground just milliseconds before I would have lost it, and my friend did save it. Now, when we get to the very end of the video, because I'm voiceovering it right now, and I actually still see there's multiple +1s that are still to come that I lost, I will be calculating all of the losses and pretty much give you guys a very good thought out price check, simply just talking about the amount of money that we lost during this video, not so much about, like it was last video, how much we made. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't a loot tab to show, as you guys can imagine, because it's just a really big death compilation for 20 minutes now. But yeah, you can kind of see throughout all these clips and throughout that number kind of adding up over time that these deaths did cost something. Never, you know, underestimate someone just because they're using red d'hide and split bark. Everything is a risk, it really is, and everything adds up over time. You got to always factor in other things as well, such as food, runes, potions, arrows, things like that. And there's another death where this time we lost a Fury and a Seer's Ring, but we did keep the Toxic Staff. The next death after that was a full DH set. That was the only DH set that I did lose during this video. It's pretty obvious by now that I'm not good at DH PKing, so yeah, I only tried that once and it did not work to my surprise. Now this next death here, I was very close to escaping, but unfortunately I just could not tank enough. I only had to run down maybe 5 more feet, and I did die. I did lose another Occult there, another Tome of Fire. Those deaths right there are about 3 mil. The burnt pages and all of the runes, as well as everything else I'm risking, it really does add up there. So those deaths really aren't as bad as the +1s, but they do add up, you know, over time, especially when you die multiple times for multiple sets of gear like that. Overall, though, I will say no matter how many times I died, no matter how many +1s I lost, and you know, no matter how upset or mad I would be at the time, it was all worth it. You know, I've made all of this money that I lost in this video from this loot series. You know, none of this money was made staking. It was all made from killing a ton of different monsters a ton of different times. And yeah, man, I kind of came into this knowing that I would lose money, so I really didn't care too much. And overall, I had a great time, and I think this is not my best video yet, but definitely one of my best videos yet as it goes for loot from 1,000 players. So as all these clips do finish up here, and you kind of just see my character fall down again and again, I just will say that there is another toxic staff of the dead that we did lose, almost getting away. We were one step away from teleporting, but we did lose it south of Chins. And of course, we did lose another staff of the dead, as well as an occult and tome of fire, pretty much near Vedion. I just got stuck with a clan, and I did lose that again. So, you know, you can kind of tell we did lose a lot of money towards the end of the video, but that was to be expected. And now we have to add up overall how much we lost, all the +1s and all the supplies. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see just how much money we lost from killing 1,000 players. Okay, so overall we lost 2 Dragon Claws, 2 Zamorak God Swords, 6 Occults, 6 Tomes of Fire, 1 Fury, 1 Elder Maul, and 6 Toxic Staff of the Deads. And if you were to add up all of those items, the overall loss of just that would be 251 mil approximately. And just in the normal gear of the 180 deaths that we did go through, all the Barrows Gloves, the Rune, the Split Bark, that adds up to be about 54 mil. And then all the potions, all the runes, all the supplies, the bolts, the food, you know, how much did that all come out to be? Just about another 30 mil. So overall, we add 250 mil to 54 mil, and we're at 304. And then we add the 30 to that, and we are at an overall loss of 334 mil. You guys saw all of that. I think I only missed the Elder Maul clip and 1 ZGS clip, but for the most part, we did show all of the losses during this video. Now we all know just how much money this costs to make, and overall, like I said before, it was a great experience, and I look forward to making back all of that money with my newest upcoming video, Loot from 1,000 Vorkath. So with all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching all of it. I know it was a long ramble. You guys are the best, and I will see you guys in about a week with a new video, and until then, Mr. No Sleep